Mr. Alpheous Nxumalo, the government spokesperson of Eswatini, thank you very much indeed for joining us and welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndoro. It's my honor for me to be in your studio again.
Mr. Nxumalo, recently, we believe the Minerals Management Board chairperson, Prince Guduza, traveled to China to engage potential investors in the country. And this seems to have annoyed the Taiwanese ambassador to Eswatini, who's been described as being furious about this trip. Did this trip take place, and is the Taiwanese ambassador indeed upset with the trip, if it did take place?
Thank you very much, my brother, for giving us the opportunity to bring clarity to the story. First and foremost, probably, let me begin by correcting your introductory remarks. The Prince did go to China. However, he did not go to woo or to meet investors in China. But he traveled with one of the investors who is already in the country, in the Kingdom of Eswatini, Mr. Lee of Mr. Lee Enterprises, who have just been given a prospecting license for a special mineral in one of our strategic places at Malolocha in the country. And by the way, Mr. Lee is not even a citizen of mainland China, but he is a citizen of Taiwan. And he has been in the country and working in this country for the past 5 years. This is a second license for him to hold and to do the work that he is doing. So he had taken the chairman of the Mineral Resources, Prince Guduza, and the chief engineer for the mining department within the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy in the Kingdom of Eswatini, to show them some companies and some machinery that he wants to procure for the kind of work that he is doing in the Kingdom of Eswatini. His Majesty has given government a responsibility to encourage investors that are coming into the kingdom that they should not only dig the mineral resources and export them raw as they are, but that we need to do beneficiation of the minerals they are digging so that we can get more added value in terms of what the kingdom export to the outside world. So this trip was specifically and solely for that reason, that the chairman of the board will familiarize himself and be shown the capacity and the capability of the machinery that needs to be acquired. And they also traveled from China, Beijing to Hong Kong to visit a number of companies as well to see this kind of machinery that is needed as the Kingdom of Eswatini is moving into a new phase of trying to exploit and the possibility of the natural resources in order to boost the economy of the kingdom with a view to improve the standard of living for a Maswa.
Okay, so what you're saying then is it wasn't a Minerals Management Board visit, and it wasn't there to woo investors, merely just to see the kind of machinery available. There is speculation that moves like this could suggest that you want to move closer to Beijing, and that maybe Eswatini wants to establish the
and issues of establishing diplomatic relations are not within the province of a business entity. or with a committee such as the one His Royal Highness is leading. That is solely the responsibility of His Majesty as the head of state. And once he had made that decision, he will instruct his government, in this case, as you may know, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, to begin to pioneer and champion the pathway to establishing diplomatic relations with a certain particular country. So it cannot be done in a circumventional way. It cannot be done under the table or underground. It's always an open process that can be undertaken. For now, the diplomatic relations that the Kingdom of Eswatini enjoys with the Republic of China and Taiwan is very solid. We are enjoying mutual benefit between the two countries in the areas of agriculture, in the areas of health, in the areas of education, and in the areas of cooperating in terms of mining our resources. I will give you one particular example. The largest project that this government is pioneering this year is to build a huge dam which costs about 5 billion Malangen. That tender has been won by a company from Beijing. And it is not the first time. They've always been here. They are working very well in Eswatini. There is absolutely no way this suggests that we are now moving away from our diplomatic friends and allies to mainland China.
Do you recognize Taiwan as an independent country of China, away from the China one country policy?
We do not even want to bother about that because those are issues that concern the two respective countries. We do know that Taiwan long time rejected the policy of one China, two systems. That is none of our business. We only know that Taiwan is a fully fledged state with its own constitution. It has got its own military forces. It has got its own territory, which it controls. It has got only its national flag, and its citizens is using Taiwanese passport internationally wherever they travel, even when they're traveling to Beijing. So there is nothing that suggests that Taiwan is not a fully fledged state in our view.
What is the current state of your relationship with China? I know that in 2020, I think we saw Eswatini exports of sugar banned by Beijing. Are there any restrictions currently? What would you say about the relationship between the two countries, other than what you've described already?
The Kingdom of Eswatini is following one cardinal foreign policy. We are friends to all and we are enemies to none. We don't consider China as a hostile or aggressive or unfriendly country to the Kingdom of Eswatini because we believe they would have no reason to act or behave in that manner and fashion against the Kingdom of Eswatini. We don't interfere in other countries' internal affairs. We do not expect other countries to do that kind of thing also in our internal affairs. So there will be absolutely no entry point for anyone that would want to pick an enmity with the Kingdom of Eswatini. So we don't have an attitude. We don't have a problem with any country in the world, including mainland China.
Are there diplomatic relations between the two countries, China and Eswatini, as in ambassadors in both countries?
No, we don't have diplomatic ambassadors, residents in each country.
In a way, that means that you've chosen Taiwan over China, and you're the only African country to do so. Is that something that you will hold on to? I know when the Taiwanese president visited Eswatini last year, celebrating 55 years of diplomatic relations, she hoped that this would carry on for until 100 years. Is that the same wish for Eswatini?
First and foremost, when countries establish diplomatic relations, it's not a question of choosing one over the other. We never chose Taiwan over Beijing. There was no comparison. There was only an agreement that mutual diplomatic relations can be established between the two countries. And it all began with our former head of state, King Sobhuza II, it continued to His Majesty King Mswati III. I don't know from 1968, when these diplomatic relations were established, how many presidents have come in and gone out of office in Taiwan, and we are still maintaining the same diplomatic relations. And we have got no reason going into the future to think there is anything that should falter them.
If Beijing was to say, enough is enough, you have to give up this relationship with Taiwan and recognize this one China policy, what is the position of Eswatini?
There is no country that can detect that kind of detection upon another country. The Kingdom of Eswatini is a sovereign state. The Kingdom of Eswatini decides on its own volition and will as to which country at what time of history do we establish diplomatic relationship. What are the beneficiations that we see or the advantages that can be accumulated as a result of that diplomatic relations? There is no big brother attitude that is expected from any country within the international system. We are members of the United Nations equally so. We are members of the African Union equally so. We are members of SADC equally so. There is no one country that can detect its policy or impose its policy upon another country.
So perhaps finally, we'll end where we started. What has the Taiwanese ambassador said to your government regarding this trip? Do they understand as you've explained it? And is the relationship all good?
They are very good. Actually, I met His Excellency Liang yesterday. Government had issued a statement to that effect yesterday to clarify and explain the trip that was undertaken by the chairman of the Mineral Resources. He understood it in proper perspective and in proper context. And unfortunately, South African media relied from somebody who is not privy to the facts of what really has taken place. The ambassador of the Embassy of Taiwan have not pronounced or expressed itself in any way, in any case on this matter so far. As for to reporting that he expressed that and cried betrayal, this, that, and the other, that is not the truth.
So for the foreseeable future, Eswatini and Taiwan remain loyal friends, and in your view, that is not going to change anytime soon.
Until and unless there come a point where His Majesty will make a decision to establish diplomatic relations with another country and cut ties with another country, we have got no reason to think these diplomatic relations is about to end.
Mr. Nxumalo, thank you so much indeed. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, my brother. Have a great day.